Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti binti Zainal, Matrics Number 1190909. So today I will talk about a very interesting topic, which is sustainable energy technologies under the title of non-technical factors that will influence the 21st century energy mix. So without further ado, I will begin with the introduction. The introduction of this title, we know that the energy mix is changing and renewable energy is growing in importance to seek a better quality of life for citizens. If you were born before 1989, the world did not see any electricity generation from wind until 1985 and none from solar until 1989. No electricity was generated from either wind or solar power, and very little from geothermal and biomass. By 2018, the combined generation from wind and solar had surpassed hydroelectricity, and bioethanol produced from corn grain made up gasoline market. Changes have also occurred in the non-renewable energy mix. Coal, which was responsible for electricity generation in 1998, is now only reducing as natural gas has taken the leadership role, surpassing coal in 2015 as the primary energy for producing electricity. All these changes of energy mix are outstanding. But then again, true by 2100, the world's population is expected to reach 10.9 billion people. But do we know currently nearly 1/5 of the world's 7.2 billion people live without electricity, while universal energy access is desirable? Limiting global warming to 2 degrees Celsius requires a significant reduction in fossil fuel use by mid-century. Here, we quantify the changes in the global energy mix required to address population, environmental concerns, energy conservation, cogeneration, economics, and sustainable development. For short idea, the emerging energy mix will depend on clean energy. Clean energy refers to energy that has little harmful effect on the environment. The goal is sustainable development, integrating social and environmental concerns into development activities to optimize economic profitability and value creation as the world undergoes a transition from non-renewable fossil fuels to renewable fuels and sustainable secure energy infrastructure. So for the first factor of the energy mix, the energy conservation. The energy conservation. Today's energy options include fossil fuels, energy power, solar power, renewable fuels, and alternative energy sources. Fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are the primary energy source in the modern global economy, but environmental concerns are prompting changes in the supply of clean energy. Natural gas is a relatively clean energy source. Oil and gas fields are considered conventional sources of natural gas. Two unconventional sources of natural gas are coal-bed methane and natural gas hydrates that we can say very harmful to our environment. Next, then, the nuclear energy. Currently, nuclear fission provides nuclear energy. Nuclear fission is the process in which a large unstable nucleus decays into smaller fragments. Fission depends on a finite supply of fissionable material. Nuclear fusion is the combination or fusing of two small nuclei into one single larger nucleus. Many scientists expect nuclear energy to be provided by nuclear fusion sometimes during the 21st century. Next is solar energy. Solar energy is available in three forms: passive, active, and electric. Active and passive solar energy generally are used for space conditioning such as heating and cooling. Active solar energy technologies are typically mechanical devices such as solar hot waters that collect and distribute solar energy. Passive solar heating integrates building design with environmental factors, enabling the capture of solar energy. A simple example is sluice facing in windows in house. Solar electric devices such as photovoltaic cells convert sunlight into electricity. Renewable fuels range from hydroelectric and wind to synfuels and biomass. The kinetic energy of wind and flowing water are indirect forms of solar energy and are considered renewable. Wind turbines harness wind energy, and hydroelectric energy is generated by the flow of water through a turbine. Both can convert the mechanical energy of a rotating blade into electrical energy in a generator. The oceans are another solar-powered source of energy. Waves and tides can be used to drive electric generators. Temperature gradients in the ocean exist between warm surface water and cooler water below the surface. If the temperature gradient is large enough, it can be used to generate power with ocean thermal energy conversion power plants. Biomass. Biomass refers to wood and other plant or animal matter that can be burned directly or can be converted into fuel. Historically, wood has been a source of fuel. Technologies now exist to convert plants, garbage, and animal dung into natural gas. Methanol or wood alcohol is a volatile fuel that has been used in race cars for years. Ethanol, which can be produced from sugarcane, can be blended with gasoline to form a blended fuel, gasohol, and used in a conventional automobile engines or used as the sole fuel source for modified engines. Synthetic fuels. Synfuels are fossil fuel substitutes created by chemical reactions with such basic resources as coal or biomass. Synfuels are used as substitutes for conventional fossil fuels such as natural gas and oil. The last energy source nowadays is hydrogen. Hydrogen can be used as fuel for a modified internal combustion engine or in a fuel cell. Fuel cells are electrochemical devices that directly convert hydrogen or hydrogen-rich fuels into electricity through a chemical process. And then for the next factor, the second factor of energy mix is cogeneration. What is cogeneration? Cogeneration is the simultaneous production of two or more sources of energy. The most common example of cogeneration is the simultaneous generation of electricity and useful heat. In this case, a fuel like natural gas can be burned in a boiler to produce steam. The steam drives an electric generator and is recaptured for heating and manufacturing. Cogeneration is most effective when the cogeneration facility is near the site where the excess heat can be used. And then for the next factor, the third, which is environment concerns. One of the most pressing environmental concerns facing the world today is global climate change. A purported cause of adverse global climate change is the greenhouse effect. Increasing levels of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases such as methane in the atmosphere absorb infrared radiation rather than letting it escape into space. The resulting atmospheric heating is attributed to excessive emissions of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Although the evidence for global climate change and its implications for society are in dispute, the petroleum industry is considering methods for mitigating the emission of greenhouse gases. One way to reduce the emission of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere is to collect and store carbon dioxide in oil and gas reservoirs as part of a process known as carbon dioxide sequestration. The goal of carbon dioxide sequestration is to provide economically competitive and environmentally safe options to offset all projected growth in baseline emissions of greenhouse gases. Carbon sequestration programs are designed to reduce the climatic greenhouse effect by collecting and storing carbon dioxide in non-atmospheric sites. Sequestration of greenhouse gases is part of the more general problem of sustainable development. And then for the economic part, we will refer to a site of bp.com, which this site tells us about. First, primary energy consumption decreased by 4.5% last year, the first decline in energy consumption since 2009. The decline was driven largely by oil by negative 9.7%, which accounted for almost 3/4 of the decrease. Natural gas and coal also saw significant declines. Consumption for all fuels decreased apart from renewables, which is positive 9.7%, and hydro, positive 1%. Consumption fell across all the regions, with the largest declines in North America by negative 8% and Europe by negative 7.8%. The lowest decrease was in Asia Pacific, which is negative 1.6% due to the growth in China, which is positive 2.1%. The only major country where energy consumption increased is 2020. In the other regions, the decline in consumption ranged between negative 7.8% in South and Central America to negative 3.1% in the Middle East. In 2020, 63.7% of the global population lives in countries where average energy demand per capita was less than 100 gigajoule per head, a significant decrease from 81% in 2019 as energy demand per capita in China increased to 101 gigajoule per head from 99 gigajoule per head in 2019. The share of the global population consuming less than 75 gigajoule per head increased from 57% in 2019 to 60.6% last year. And then for our last factor, which is the sustainable development. The goal of sustainable development is to integrate social and environmental concerns into a development plan that optimizes economic profitability and value creation. One industry response to environmental and social concerns in the context of sustainable development is the triple bottom line. The three components of sustainable development and the three goals of the triple bottom line are economic prosperity, social equity, and environmental protection. The focus of the triple bottom line is the creation of long-term shareholder value by recognizing that corporations are dependent on licenses provided by society to do business. In this regard, major energy companies are undertaking the task of developing methods for determining the extent of greenhouse gas emissions that result from their activities. This positive step indicates the recognition by energy companies that environmental issues are legitimate resource management concerns. And for our conclusion of our discussion today, fossil fuels such as coal, turbine, and natural gas were the full of choices in the second half of the 20th century. The 21st century will gradually shift from the dominance of fossil fuels in the current energy mix to a more balanced energy mix. The goal is to integrate social and environmental concerns into a development plan that optimizes economic profitability and value creation as the world transitions from the use of non-renewable fossil fuels to the use of renewable fuels and the creation of sustainable, secure energy infrastructure. And that's all from me. Thank you.